You're watching ETHNews, and this is everything you need to know about liberal radicalism in minutes. Glenn Whale, Vitalik Buterin, and Zoe Hitzig recently published a paper titled Liberal Radicalism: Formal Rules for a Society Neutral Among Communities, which presents this new idea. The paper combines economic and mathematical logic with political philosophy to create a radical yet realistic template to solve large-scale issues. Liberal radicalism seeks to address the well-known public goods problem. A public goods problem, also known as the free rider problem, describes a situation wherein individuals who benefit from a service do not pay for it. Or at least they don't pay for it proportionally to how much they use it. This creates an under-provision for that resource. The authors point to a few examples of this problem, such as campaign finance, open-source software companies, and news media. There are three prevalent models to address the public goods issue. Number one, the concept of a democratic nation-state that uses voting and taxation to determine what should be funded and by how much. Number two, privatization of services. And number three, appeals to people's sense of identity to convince them to contribute. The authors note, however, that these models are inflexible and tend to respond to the will of the majority rather than focusing on what would create the greatest overall value. The idea of quadratic voting has been brought up as a potential solution, which would essentially give everyone in a society an equal number of votes with which to express their preferences. But quadratic voting only addresses the will of the majority problem, not the inflexibility that exists in current models. To address the limitations of quadratic voting, the authors propose a formula specifying that a citizen's influence is proportional to their marginal value for the public good. This formula would be enabled by wealth redistribution and a system of taxation and donations. Looking past the economic jargon, if this formula were expressed graphically, then you could see that more funding would be allocated toward projects that receive various small contributions, and less money would be given to projects that have only received a few large contributions. In this way, the public good of a project is emphasized over other factors like status, wealth, or the size of a project's team. By pursuing funding like this, projects would be less disadvantaged by capitalism's tendency to benefit concentrated interests. And some projects that people simply do not understand could still be appropriately funded if they ultimately benefited the public. And that, my friends, is everything you need to know about liberal radicalism in minutes.